Welcome back to a brand new channel. This is Mental Health Matters, and today we have a new episode. I will be talking about what is mental health. I think it's very important for us to be able to define mental health because so many people have different ideas about what it is. And for some of us, we are not sure or we don't have enough information about this. Like I said, for some people, it could be very medical, scientific, psychological, and it's not because we all have a mental health system, and it's really important to know or be aware of what is going on with your own mental health um, as you go through life every day. So, in this particular episode, I want us to be able to define mental health. And I am not giving a standard definition to anybody. I'm not saying this is what it is for you because it's different for different people. I mean, for you, a part of your mental health might mean your emotions, just how you feel about things. For some people, it's more about their thinking. How do I think things through? Do I either have a negative thinking pattern or positive, or is it influenced by other people and so on? So there are so many ways you know yourself better, but I am just here to clarify what it is and hopefully be able to give us a much more simple, much more general definition. So, your mental health system is the part of yourself or rather, the part of your body, yes, the part of your body where you process emotion and later on process your thinking. So it moves from you being able to feel everything and internalize and feel emotions. It's like when you get to a place and you're just like, I don't like this. I don't feel good around this place, around these people, or whatever it is. And your emotions could be influenced by different things. It could be that you're just tired. It could be that you know what you just want somewhere where you can just relax and tone it down, and a place that is maybe much more quiet. That is why you're feeling that way. It could be that it has some memories or it reminds you of something that is not so great, and so that emotion gets triggered in you. Maybe you feel frustrated, you feel sad, and so on, and you just want to move away from that place. And how do you move away from that place? You are going to start processing your thought patterns, your thinking, your mind, and you will start thinking, okay, let's rather go to a different place, or let me rather see what I can do. Let me try and find something that will work for me. So you'll start thinking and coming up with solutions and coming up with different ways to make yourself feel comfortable. So this is that part of you, that part of your body where you process your emotions. You feel first and then you think. We feel and we think. So that whole entire process, that whole entire system, that is your mental health system. And everybody has it. And for as long as you're a human being, definitely you feel and you think. So it's very important for us to regulate that. It's important for us to manage that, because if we don't, remember, your system is like a sponge. It just absorbs emotion. It just absorbs your feelings. And then you think. And within that system, there are old residual feelings, emotions that you've probably felt, thought patterns that you have from the past. and they get triggered easily whenever you step into a new place, you deal with someone that reminds you of that. And some of them are not necessarily healthy for us, and they can make every experience a little bit toxic, every experience to become like a nightmare, a mini nightmare, where you're just like, I feel like I'm reliving this moment again, over and over again. So, I mean, we see this with relationships. If you haven't found the one, or a partner, or somebody that is meant to be with you, and if that's what you're looking for, um, if you're not really aware of your mental health system and where you are, it's so easy for you to feel like you're meeting the same person over and over again. You're just dealing with the same person, because that part of your mental health, that part of your system hasn't been cleared out. You haven't found a way. It's either you're not aware, or you haven't found a way to manage it. You haven't found a way to deal with it. So that is just an example, but there are so many things. It could be with money, it could be with people, it could be with anything in life. It applies in every aspect, because we all have a mental health system, as I said. So it's important for us to realize that, number one. And what then follows after that is the awareness. How aware are you of your mental health? If you really understand what it means, then how aware are you of what is going on with your own mental health system? Is it still stuck in the past? Is it still greatly influenced by the past? Is it still at a point where maybe you are not aware that right now is the present moment? You are here right now, and yet your thinking and your emotional line of doing things, like the way you process things from an emotional and thought perspective. It could be that you're still stuck in certain situations and events that have happened. This is where we tap into things like trauma, things that were not necessarily pleasant, or things that just shifted you and you were not able to recover. It doesn't necessarily have to be traumatic and deep, but sometimes we go through changes and we don't realize that we need to process the change. We need to process what happened to us, so that we are able to be present right now, and we are able to move on properly. So then comes the awareness. But then we cannot be aware, or it's not easy to be aware, if your sense of self, how you regard yourself, is always influenced by what others think of you. It is always influenced by external things. If the external things define you, then that means they define your mental health. That just means your system is highly influenced by things outside of you. So if that's the case, then it's really tricky to figure out where you are in regards to your mental health system, or to even know how it works. So that is also something to be aware of. Can we get to a place where we are able to spend time with ourselves and know ourselves better, and process who we are? What am I thinking? What am I thinking? It's as easy as asking yourself, like, what is bothering me these days? What am I constantly thinking about? And why am I always thinking about this? That is awareness on its own. You don't have to do anything. You just have to look at your patterns. What am I constantly thinking about? When I try and go to sleep at night, this is what I'm thinking about. When I'm doing this, I'm thinking about this. I am constantly just worrying and thinking about this. That is step one of being aware. And in that way, you are able to have an idea of why you're thinking that way and what needs to happen. I wouldn't say what is the solution, but what needs to happen. If something is really bothering you, what needs to happen? It's up to you. Can you stop the thinking? Can you rather change the thinking? Is there something that you need to do to make the thinking less intense? Is there something that you need to solve? Because remember, we don't have to problem solve for everything. Not everything is a problem, but sometimes we just need to shift things and change things around and so on. So, in my opinion and in my definition, that is how you can start creating awareness. And of course, for some people, the worst things have to happen first before you can become aware that actually the way I'm thinking, the way I regard myself, my mental health system is not necessarily at a healthy place. Sometimes the worst kind of things have to happen, but it's different for different people. However, this is the most basic, the most simplest way of doing this whole thing of creating awareness about your mental health system. We also need to realize something, and that is a lot of us like to associate mental health with mental illness. Oh, mental health, mental illnesses. And there is a huge difference when it comes to that. There is a huge difference. Your mental health, that is your system, like I said. That is your system that rules, that runs your thought processing, your emotional way of dealing with things, how you absorb emotion, and so on. But when we talk about mental illness, that's a completely different thing. And I think it's very important for me to be able to show us the difference, because a lot of people, once you start mentioning mental health, she deals with mental health, mental illness, and that's a good association, but it's completely different. And when we talk about a mental illness, it's an illness, just like any other illnesses that we experience physically. Some people have diabetes, some people have a heart problem, some people have a kidney problem. Those are illnesses that we deal with physically. But when we talk about mental illnesses, those are illnesses that affect our mental health system. And in that case, if you have been diagnosed, medically diagnosed by a mental health practitioner, which could be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and so on, professionals that are able to diagnose you as having a mental illness, then that's when you can say that you're dealing with a mental illness. And of course, they'll be able to help you define the mental illness for you and what steps you need to take, how you need to work with it, how you need to manage it, just like any other disease or illness that we have physically. So that is a completely different thing. It affects your mental health, but it is not your mental health. A mental illness is not your mental health. It is an illness that affects your mental health system. And I think it's very crucial for us to know the difference. But now, when we talk about your mental health, this is something that you need to manage just like your physical health, your physical system. And every individual, everybody is able to manage their mental health. Everybody is able to manage their system. Yes, there are some instances where people are actually living with the mental illness, but they don't know. And sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes when you start building awareness, when you start being aware of your own mental health system and where it is, then that's when you can be able to tell if maybe there is something wrong. Maybe you need to, consult with a psychologist, a therapist, so that you can get checked, so that you can be able to deal with it if you suspect that there is an illness. And there is so much that we're still going to unpack in regards to some red flags or things that you can identify, and maybe then those red flags will lead you to a professional who can help you further. But as people, we need to be able to manage our mental health every day. I mean, when we don't manage it, when we don't do anything about it, what is meant to happen? What is meant to happen? This is why we experience a whole lot of things that, lead to certain things that could be detrimental to our health, addictions, and of course, in the most or the worst case scenario, suicides, and so on. So, in order for us to prevent that, I think prevent is the best word. In order for us to prevent that, we need to learn how to manage our mental health system day by day, bit by bit. So that is the distinction between a mental illness and your mental health. So also what we need to pay attention to is our communication. I think communication is really the best thing that we have, the best tool that we have, especially if you are not sure about this whole mental health thing. Your communication will give you so much insight. It will help you a lot in terms of what is it that you need to do, in terms of what is it that you cannot do. Because remember, we cannot do it all. We are different people in different situations from different backgrounds and so on. So for some people, they can only be able to do so much, while other people are able to go as far as a certain level in terms of their mental health. But it's not limited. I think the most basic tools would be the awareness, but also to pay attention to your level of communication. And we need to remember that communication goes both ways. That is how you communicate with yourself and how you communicate with others. How you communicate with others is also a very big indication of where you are mentally, and also how you communicate with yourself. It also will tap into how you regard yourself, your self-esteem, your level of self-worth, if you are taking care of yourself or not, how you process things, how you process information, how you deal with issues in life, whether it's financial issues, whether it's family issues, whether it's relationships, or whatever it is. Your level of communication will indicate where you are, because if you are able to communicate honestly and you are able to share with whoever or whatever, people that you trust. Let me rather just say, if you are able to communicate honestly with people that you trust, or just anybody, about who you are, about what you like, or what you're on about, what is that you're going through, and so on, without having certain fears, restrictions, without holding yourself back, then that is an indication of you being aware of your own mental health, and that also indicates that you are relatively a healthy person, on that level. But if you struggle with those things, just communication, just simple communication, then it shows that you might have some issues or aspects of yourself that you really need to work on, that you really need to pay attention to in regards to your mental health. So that is the first thing that I think is a big indication. And anybody, I mean, we communicate, we are human beings, we constantly have to communicate. Communication is like life. And if that is problematic, if that is something that is not the best thing for you, or is not a pleasant experience for you, then you should be able to ask yourself why you are having difficulties with that, or what is really going on internally. because the truth is nobody can really know. Even when you go to a doctor, even when you, let's say that you're aware that you might be suffering from a mental illness, and then you go and you ask for help, nobody will be able to tell exactly what is going on with you unless you, of course, open up, unless you have the awareness. And some people don't even know what is going on, or they don't even know what is a mental health system. So I hope this can help inform us, and it can at least help us to be more aware, start taking steps to learn more about our own mental health system. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time where we unpack more about our mental health. Thank you so much and take care.